I know I started making these videos so that I could vent, self-reflect, and talk about anything I may want to, but since I made that second video, I really haven't been putting thought into making another one. Whether it's due to lack of motivation on my part or something else has been taking my focus away is to be determined. Since I've been going out less and frankly haven't been talking to anybody outside my inner circle, I seem to have fallen back into the rut that I was in when I first made my video. Luckily, it's not as deep as it once was, and I did make attempts to better myself. But I think it's high time for a bit more self-reflection. This lull in motivation was brought about not by lack of motivation, I think, but a shift into where it was pointed. In an attempt to save me the embarrassment of talking about it and the cringe anyone may feel about me gushing, I'll just leave it at I've met someone that I enjoy spending time with. For a while after making the second video, I'm mildly self-destructed. At the time it happened, I genuinely saw myself making a video talking about it and how it was affecting me. But now that I look back on it, and the 3 paragraphs of notes that I jotted down while I was laying in bed at 3 in the morning, I'm really happy I didn't. I feel it would have been as rushed and as unpolished as my procrastination video. But there were a couple of good points in those 3 paragraphs that I wrote. One of the topics was how poor I perceived my abilities to start and maintain friendships. In an attempt to not sound like a father reminiscing about his good old days, I'll preface this with I'm 21 years old, and as of this moment, high school and some of middle school is still fresh in my mind. I haven't become so much of an alcoholic that I only remember the high points. And as I've come to realize, most of the friendships that I had in school have come to pass. I'm extremely lucky that I still have friends that I talked to in high school and a little bit in middle school, but as I was told growing up, school friends don't stick around. And unfortunately, my mind is a cruel thing. It insists that I'm creating a divide between me and my friends. I'm pessimistic by nature, and when little to no communication happens between a friend and I, doubt starts to ferment. Like a weed in a garden, it starts small, but if it's just left on its own, it overtakes the garden. What was once full of flowers is now full of goosegrass and dandelions. The seed of doubt that starts with little to no communication for a couple of days between me and a friend becomes worry that I did something to slight them. And I'm aware that it's most likely paranoia, and that situations like those are usually due to incompatible schedules or just bad timing on my part. But I'm a worrywart at the end of the day, and it's gonna bug me. Another topic I sort of wrote down was about my ability to self-reflect, or lack thereof. Although this video, as well as the others that I've made, are sort of a means to fix it, I still have a while to go. When looking at how I handle emotions, I don't. And for a good bit of time, I just bottled them up, and I still do to this day. It's easier to bottle up and forget than it is to confront the issues head on, at least in my mind. But now I've gotten to a point where bottling it up just won't cut it anymore, and I don't know what to do with the emotions. It's far easier to bottle up someone calling you mean in middle school than it is to bottle up the fact that you haven't had a meaningful relationship in the last 8 years as an adult. I'm feeling things that I've never felt before, and not in the sense of an adolescent teen going through puberty. It's realizing that I'm an adult and that I don't quite know what I'm doing with my life. And I haven't felt these feelings before, obviously. At least not in recent memory. And I'm not looking forward to the day that the emotion I feel isn't happiness or dread, and it's just raw, unadulterated sadness. I couldn't tell you the last time I genuinely cried. And I'm sure that when it happens, I'll be an absolute mess. But luckily enough, I've got paid time off from work, and I'll be able to take a day or two. Anyway, this is all I really wanted to talk about. Feels good to say these things out loud, and hopefully next week or the week after I'll actually have a video in mind. I know I acknowledged it earlier, but I genuinely do feel like my last video, the procrastination one, was rushed. I tried to lean more towards a natural feel while staying on script as much as possible, but I don't think it worked that well in my eyes. So hopefully this is more of a middle ground. And much like the other two videos, I'll leave you with something to think about. But this time, rather than trying to make up something of my own, I'm just going to leave you with a quote from the NCAA basketball coach, John Wooden. As long as you try your best, you are never a failure. That is, unless you blame others.